Hi everyone, this is Jay Johnson with dailytexture.com. Today I'm introducing you to the Celestial collection, which is kind of an interesting collection I've come up with. It's a little different. Normally, I would have taken all of my textures that I've made, which there's 10 in this package, and I would have gone ahead and merged them with these images up here and created some really unique backgrounds. But I decided to make this one a little more challenging and give you a little bit more freedom by keeping all the elements separate. So I'm going to take you on a little tour of what's in this collection. This is an example image that I've created with the elements in this collection. These are the backgrounds that I've painted. They were inspired by some odd colors I've photographed at night in the sky. There's different shades, as you can see, blues, grays, golden colors from sunsets, reds, browns, a mix of everything. Also in this collection, I've included these. Now these are the textures. There's 10 of them. This is a collection of public domain images from NASA, which are available for anybody to use. These images are ones that I have worked with for a long time, and I've had them on my computer for a long time. I've edited them to my satisfaction because some of them weren't the greatest images, but they were pretty cool. So I'm going to take you on a tour now of those images. Hang on just a second. Let me get my ducks in a row here. Alright, now this image here is the supermoon that I photographed this month. So I've included this image in the collection, and these are some of the images from NASA that I have edited that I'm including in this collection. These are public domain images. And these are just bonus that I'm including in the collection for you guys to play with. Different galaxies, stars, colors. And these are all edited so they work well with the textures. There are several of these in here, just all kinds of different interesting patterns and texture. Oops, that one. Planets, stars, more stars, and back to the moon. Now I'm going to take you on a quick tutorial on how I use this collection. Okay, I'm getting ready to start this tutorial here on the Celestial collection. Let me get rid of this cover photo. I'm in Topaz Photo FX Lab, which is my program of choice. I go into it from Paint Shop Pro. I have it installed as a plugin there, and I just open my image in Paint Shop Pro and go straight to Photo FX Lab with that image. The image I've chosen to work with for this tutorial is this tiger image. Now, what I'm after here, what I'm trying to create, is an image similar to one of my favorite artists who I've followed for years, named Shim Schimmel. And he creates really cool artwork with big cats and celestial elements like moons, earth, stars, skies. And they're really cool. I have a huge poster hanging here that I've had for, over 20 years with a tiger that he had done. And when I saw this tiger, I thought it would be kind of fun to try to create something with this. And I've already started, so I'm just going to walk you through what I've already done. This is the original image I've started with. I'm going to move this down to the bottom out of the way so you can see what I've already done. I'm going to turn these off. This right here is the texture I've chosen. I chose this one because of the colors, and I thought it would go nicely with the tiger. Then I brought the tiger image in on top of that image, and then I brought this Earth image from the collection, from the NASA elements, on top of that. I masked away the black background around the Earth, placing it on top of the tiger. Then I masked away the tiger's background to blend him in with the texture that I've chosen that's underneath. And this is the stage I'm at where I've masked everything away and I'm just trying to decide how this looks. At this point, I've decided the tiger might need to be a little bigger. I don't like this leg back here the way it's showing, so I want to raise up the size of the tiger, give him a little bit more oomph there, and kind of put that leg off to the side. Now I see right here there's a spot I need to mask, so I'm going to go to the masking tab and I'm going to mask away on the tiger layer this part right here, like so. Okay, now I haven't done any adjustments to the tiger. At this point, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try Topaz Clarity. And if that makes him too dark, I'm going to try something else. I like Fur and Feathers. It's one of my favorites. Really makes the fur stand out. That boosted him up pretty good. I'm going to lower this down so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to click OK to accept that clarity adjustment on him. Let's see how that looks with the overall image I'm working on. That boosted him up a little bit. I'm going to try another adjustment. I'm going to go to Topaz Adjust in the HDR collection and try Dynamic Pop. Now that really boosted him up. It may be too much, but in fact I think it is too much. I'm going to go to Transparency and set it in the middle so it gives him just a slight adjustment instead of the whole adjustment. This adjustment on the HDR collection Dynamic Pop really brings out the details of the fur and brightens him up. There we go. Now I'm going to mask away some more around the tiger at a low opacity. So I'm bringing the flow down, get a big brush, and just kind of gently tap up here. I want him just to fade in from the background. Still don't like that leg showing. Tone down that white fur there and white fur right there, and then I got a little too much masked away there, so go back the other direction. Bring some of this back on the ear. You can use this collection with anything, not just animals. I just wanted to do the tiger with the earth like this. I thought it was kind of neat with him peeking over the earth. But you can use these to create fantasy works of art with people. You can use them with birds. You can use them with other elements like architectural elements to create a whole cool fantasy background or fantasy look. Okay, I like this pretty good. I'm going to see what other elements I might want to bring in and play with some of those. So I'm going to the NASA ones, and I'm going to pull out one of these galaxy images. Let's try this one. It may be a little strong. And I'm going to just change the layer mode, play with different things. That's a little bright. Now that's kind of cool. There's soft light. I like that. Turn that on and off so I can really take a look at it. You can move this underneath. I moved it under the tiger and under the earth, so it's just on top of the background. You can adjust the opacity. Just gives a little more texture to that background. Kind of like that. I might like to have the earth pick up a little bit more of the orangey tones, so I'm going to duplicate the texture background, put it on top, and play with some layer modes. And see. I'm going to lower the opacity, because I don't want it at full opacity. Let's go down here to okay, now if I choose the color mode, it definitely brings those warm tones into the earth. But I like the tones of the rest of the image. I'm going to set that at about 30%. And rather than masking everything off, I'm going to invert the mask, which just takes it all away. And I'm just going to brush back on the adjustment from that layer onto the earth part right here, just to give it some of those warm tones. Now you click it on and off and see how it just toned down the blue a little bit. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm liking the way this is looking. Now let's see if I can pull in another element here. Let me try one of these. See what this will do. This might make things look interesting. Now these dark background ones, you can set it to screen, color dodge, linear dodge, lighter color, and that kind of gets rid of the black background pretty much immediately. I don't like that on his face. Let's take a look at lighter color, and let's move this layer around. I don't like that. Screen. Lighten. Color dodge. Kind of like color dodge, but it's too strong, so bring it down just a little bit. Maybe about 30%. Usually when I'm unsure, I choose around 30%. That gives some neat texture right here. Now let's see what else I can bring in. These are so fun to layer on top of each other. Let us try this one. See what this will do. Screen, color dodge, linear dodge, lighter color, overlay, soft light. Let's move this around. See if I like this anywhere else. I'm not liking this one. Taking that one back off. I do like what I've done here. Let me try some stars. I have a couple stars in here. I have a very simple stars, and then I have a really, this is a splattered star. And it kind of, oh, now that's interesting. Gives it a real good sparkle. But it's too much here. Let's lower the opacity on that. Maybe about 50%. And let me mask that off of the tiger and the earth. Because it doesn't really need to be on those fully. Maybe partially. Let me bring some of it back, but at a low opacity. It did brighten things up a little bit. Gave him a little bit of sparkle. Okay, now let me bring the regular stars in and set these on one of these layer modes. Screen, color dodge, linear dodge, lighter color. Let me try screen, and then I'm going to duplicate this layer a few times, maybe 3 times, and then each one I'm going to flip around to alter how the stars are appearing. So I'm flipping the different ones around and upside down. Now that gives just more of a sparkle everywhere, but it's right over some of his facial features, which I don't want. So on each layer, I'm going to get on the layer and mask away around his face and ears, maybe a little on the body. And I'm going to do this on each of the layers. I like him having a little sparkle, but I don't want him having the stars totally covering him. Alright, next layer. These are just, you can just keep adding to these, and that's how I do them. I just like a lot of stuff on them, and that's why I provided these things separate, so you can keep adding what you want rather than having such a set background. There. Now that's looking pretty cool. Now that I'm looking at it, though, I'm wondering if I should bring back some of this leg on the tiger layer. So I'm going back to the tiger layer. I'm going to try it. I can always undo it. And lower the flow and just kind of, no, that's too green. What about right there? No, don't like that. We'll leave it alone. Scratch that idea. Back to the top so I can decide what I want to do. Let's see here. At this point, I like the way all of this is looking. So at this point, I'm going to merge all this together. I'm going to click from stack and see how it looks once I've merged it. I still need a little bit more contrast in here, and I'm going to work on that once it's all merged. There's several layers involved, so okay, that's all merged. Looks pretty good. I'm going to duplicate this layer, and I'm going to do a topaz clarity on the entire merged image and see if I can get some more contrast in him and the earth. Okay, let me take that. I like the contrast this fur and feathers is providing on him and the earth, but I don't really want it on the background. So I'm going to adjust that once I get it done. Maybe play with the opacity and just take a look at all of it. Alright, I'm going to invert that layer and brush that clarity adjustment back just on his face and the earth. Not having to be exact. You see my little mask right there, which gives a little bit more clarity here, but leaves this a little softer. See, before, after, it just kind of pumped him up a little bit. Now I'm going to do a from stack on that, which is merging everything again. And like I said, this takes a while. There are several layers, so it's merging. Now I'm going to open up one of the other textures from in here, and I'm going to see how these might work. Let me try this one and just play with the different layer modes to see if I get any other look that I might like a little better. And that darkens things up quite a bit. I'm on soft light layer mode. I'm thinking I'd kind of like this area to be a little darker, but this area to remain a little brighter. You can also adjust your exposure and your contrast and whatever on these texture layers, whatever you want to adjust. Because it's on its own layer, you can adjust it a little separately. I'm raising the exposure up on this layer. I've got it set on soft light mode, which darkens everything, but it's a little too dark. So I thought, well, that's the original, but if I raise the exposure up, it'll brighten things. So I'm playing with that. And then I'm going to play with the opacity of that layer a little bit. Let's try around 50%. And let's bring the exposure down just a little. It darkens the eyes too much, so that might not be a good idea to bring it down that far. So that's before, that's after. It's just subtle. It's shifting the light. I want this to be a little darker, this to be a little brighter. And it's also bringing some of the tones of this particular texture, the bluer tones, into it, toning down the orange just a little bit. You can also adjust the saturation. If I like the oranges, I can adjust saturation and play with it that way. Alright, I like that. Let me bring in another one. Let's try this one. See what happens here. This may be a little rich for it. A little too much. It's all playing. Just go through here and see what appeals. This is maybe a little much. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Alright, let me do another merge. I see this collection more as a fantasy collection, better for fantasy artwork. I'm not really a fantasy artist, but I do like to play and kind of create some fantasy looking things. And especially with the wildcats that I have, maybe even an eagle from time to time. Alright, now I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to play with the colors of the overall image, just to see if anything looks better. Let me do something else. Let's go to Topaz Lens Effects, another one of my favorite modules from Topaz. I like the graduated neutral density because it enables me to darken an area. Like I said, I would like this area a little darker, this area a little brighter. So that's the right side, so I'm going to go to the right quarter, 2 stops, and just kind of darken that side a little bit. And let's see how that looks. Well, I've darkened it a little bit. Now I might want to darken right here. So I'm going to do that again, choosing the bottom quarter. Bottom quarter, 1 stop. I don't know how big of an adjustment it needs. I think the the one stop might be plenty just to darken this. Now let's see. Let me duplicate that again. This time I'm going to bring the exposure down of that layer, of the duplicate layer, which darkened everything, but I'm going to mask away some of this to bring some light right here. So on that layer where I reduced the exposure, I'm going to make a really big brush and just kind of bring that light right there in this corner. Just creates a little stronger lighting. And you can see my mask right here coming from this corner down to the top of the earth. So this is before and this is after. See how that adjustment makes it darker right around here, brighter here? You might go back the other way and tone down some of this to create more of a strip of light right there. And then right here, make sure it's pretty bright. Alright, so that's before, that's after. So basically what I did was I duplicated this layer right here. Then on the duplicate layer, I brought the exposure down to minus 1.09. And then I masked away, that darkened everything. I masked away this section, which I wanted to stay bright. So it darkened everything around here then, but where I have it masked away, it's still bright because it's pulling that from the layer beneath it. I'm liking that. So I'm going to do from stack to merge that. I have no idea what I'm going to call this. I start thinking about that while I'm waiting on things to process. Sometimes I have a name of a piece of art in mind, and I know exactly what I'm going to do from the beginning. This isn't one of those. I just started playing with the tiger, and I thought it would make, a nice video to show you guys how I work with these and how you can work with them by combining the individual elements. See, I could have made a background like this for you with the earth, with the stars, with the galaxy already there with just no tiger there. But I thought it's a lot more fun to just include the individual elements. They're public. The NASA ones are public domain. They work well with the textures I've created with those weird sky tones. They just work well together, and I thought this way you could add what you want where you want and as many stars as you want and things like that. So I thought this would be a lot more fun. I like this. I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to blow this up a little. So I can get a close look at his face. Now you can see there's a little bit of noise in here, which I'm not real thrilled with. And I want to tone that down a little. And I have a preset. Let me see if I can raise this up so you can see. I have a preset in Topaz Impression. It's an oil paint filter that I use. And I use it a lot to tone down the noise, because it's just very, very, very light. So I'm going to go find that preset. And you can use Topaz Impression on these whole things and really create some neat looks. In this case, I just want to tone down the noise, so I'm going to use this oil glaze light, and I'll show you. This is before. You can see the noise in the fur and the eyeball, and then this is after. Now, I probably won't use this preset or this adjustment at full strength. I'm going to click OK since it's on its own layer, since I've duplicated it. Okay, so that's before, that's after. And you can see it just toned down the noise there around the face, the fur, the eyes. Okay, that's before. See how gritty it looks? This is after. But I think it's a little bit of a strong painterly effect. So I just want to make this grittiness, like right there, tone down and smooth out. And the whole 100% is not required to do that. Usually around 60 to 80 will do it. About 70 looks like it's going to do it there. It just kind of smooths out that noise. So that's before, that's after. It also boosted the oranges a little bit, which I like with this tighter. So I'm going to click from stack to merge that now. I'm still not real sure about this, because it looks like he's just dropping off in there, but I didn't really want to include the leg because I thought that made it look a little odd. So what I might do is include something here, like a little fog or cloud. Look at one of the other, open one of the other images from NASA. There's a couple that look kind of like clouds. Let's try this one. It's kind of cloudy looking. Let's go to screen. It might be a little too much. Just kind of trying to include something down here. Let me desaturate it. It does kind of look cloudy, but it's too strong. So I can lower that. It's still too gritty looking though from the stars that are included. So I brought in this red cloud light layer. I've desaturated it completely to make it white, but it's still real gritty looking. So we're going to go back to lens effects, because I have a neat thing called diffusion, which will soften that up. So I'm going to click apply on the high diffusion, and then go back to it and click apply again. And that may be enough, so I'm going to click OK. Oh, that may be too much. Yeah. Okay, let me undo that. Go back and just do it one time. I just need it diffused a little bit. So let's just do it once instead of twice. There we go. So that's before, that's after. And I just want to give the illusion of a little cloud floating over the earth right there, but not at full strength. Maybe about 50%. And place it up here over this leg area that I wasn't happy with. I've resized it a little. Maybe I could resize it a little more to make it look as if there's some clouds coming in. Just trying to get it just right. I don't want it taken away from the earth. I'm just positioning it to see where I want it. Okay, now it's creating some adjustment. I have it set on screen mode and it's creating some adjustment on these other layers. Let's see if the other layer modes will work better. Lighter color just puts the adjustment down there, and that's taking it up here. So I'm going to use the lighter color mode instead of screen. And once again, now that's at full opacity. Bring it down. Might try to bring some of the saturation back up. Give it a little more color. That's too red. That's okay. It's still creating some color right here I don't like. Let me bring the exposure down on it a little bit. See, all of this is just playing. I like what that's doing there. I don't like what it's doing on the earth. So I'm going to mask that layer, mask it off the earth part right here. And make sure there's none on his face. So that's before, that's after. And it's set at 50%, and I've lowered the saturation a little and darkened the exposure, or lowered the exposure. I'm going to raise the saturation up a little. There's nothing wrong with a little reddish tone to that. Still not sure if I'm really satisfied with it. I'm going to bring the opacity down just a little bit more to maybe around 30% instead of 50%. And I'm going to play with the layer modes again. Screen, color dodge, linear dodge, lighter color. I think I was on lighter color, so stick with that. Still not sure if I like it. Let me duplicate it and change the layer mode on that. I know I'm just fiddling with a very minor detail that probably doesn't bother anybody else, but it bothers me. Color dodge, duplicating and setting out on color dodge gave it a little bit more boost of color right there. Okay, I think I like that better. I'm going to merge everything. And then I'm going to darken on that side again, just a little bit. I said this was going to be a short video. Well, we see how that goes. There's nothing short about the way I work, really. I mean, some things I can do in 15 minutes. Other things like this, when I'm kind of unsure and I'm just playing, just trying to create something I like, these can take a long time because I put stuff on, take it off, try different things. Alright, now we're going to duplicate that and go back to lens effects and try to darken this a little bit more. That would be graduated neutral density on the right side. I'm going to hit apply. I'm also going to do it on the bottom quarter again. There we go. And since it's on its own layer, I can always adjust it. Alright, that darkened all of this. See? Before, after. But give him a little bit of clouds floating around so that it kind of takes away from the fact that he's masked in right there, which is what I was after. And it darkened this nicely. I actually like that. I think saturation as a whole needs to be brought down a little. Now it's looking a little too orange and yellow. So I'm going to merge it again. I don't know how many layers I have on here, but it's a lot. But I like to do things on duplicate layers and in separate steps so that if I decide I don't like something, I can just backtrack through those layers and not have to delete the whole thing and start over. Because at this point, 39 minutes into this, and actually I started it before I started the video, I don't want to backtrack and start the whole thing over. So it's just safer to duplicate all the layers. I think he's looking pretty cool. Alright, duplicate this layer. Now I'm going to play with saturation on the image as a whole and just bring it down just a little. minus 12. Okay, that's before. This is after. Just tones it down just a hint so it's not quite so yellowy orange. Now that I'm happy with at this point. So I'm going to merge it again. But that is how you work with this collection, or how you can work with it. Because I've included everything separately, you can combine what elements you want. You can put them on there as many times as you want. You can add as many stars as you want. And basically create your own look for the image that you're working on. Great for fantasy work. If you shoot people, models, and I can just see some of these models like angels and, you know, with their long flowing dresses with these kind of backgrounds. If you work with that kind of thing, just something to have fun with. I'm keeping them a little dark for what I'm doing here with the big cats, but you could brighten things up by raising exposure and maybe create a daytime celestial type image as well. But anyway, this is what I've created, and this is the Celestial collection. It has 10 textures, and it has, oh gosh, I've forgotten. Let's see. The NASA images, it has several of those, about 20, 25 or 6 or so, plus my supermoon in there that you can play with the textures here. And I hope that you guys enjoy it. I hope that you'll create some. I look forward to seeing what you'll create. I know you guys will create some really fun, really cool, interesting work with these things. I know you'll have a blast with them, and I honestly really look forward to seeing how creative you guys can be, because this is something kind of out of my wheelhouse. This fantasy type stuff or celestial stuff is not something I do a lot of. I want to, and that's why I've created this, so I can try it. And I hope that you guys will enjoy it too. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.